The girl I liked was dating a scumbag boyfriend. He gambled and was abusive, yet she firmly believed he was a good man. She was annoyed with me for standing up for her, accusing me of sowing discord and saying I made her sick. Later, I stopped loving her, but she begged me frantically to take her back. Jiao had been beaten again by that scumbag boyfriend. When she came to me in tears, I rolled up my sleeves and said I would go settle the score with Zhu Fang. She stopped me, then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." No. He was just drunk. It was a moment of impulse. I felt both heartbroken and frustrated. How many times has he laid a hand on you? And you're still defending him? Ji Yao cried, her eyes red, with clear marks around her neck. But he treats me really well when he's not drunk. Look at this bracelet. It was a birthday gift he specially bought for me. I looked at the bracelet. It was a hot-selling item on Douyin Mall, costing only 9 yuan with shipping, and it was of terrible quality. As for his cooking, it was just instant noodles with an egg added. I didn't understand. Jiao came from a wealthy family, growing up in comfort. Parents gave her all their love and provided her with the best elite education. I had also treated her wholeheartedly over the years. I suffer even the slightest grievance. She was completely enchanted by a worthless thug, losing all sense of reason. I really wanted to wake her up. A worthless bracelet and a half-hearted bowl of instant noodles is what you call treating you well. Yao 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 yao. Wake up. What on earth is there about that scumbag that makes you cling to him? She defended him. You don't understand him. He's different from us. His parents divorced when he was young, and he grew up in harsh conditions. But his feelings for me are genuine. He has no genuine feeling. A person like that doesn't deserve to be loved. Ji Yu's expression turned angry. She was clearly dissatisfied with my insults towards her boyfriend. Just then, her phone rang, and the caller ID showed it was Zhu Fang. Ji Yu's demeanor changed in an instant, turning gentle. On the other end, Ying's tone was terrible. Ji Yao, are you going to see that loser again? Don't be mad. I came to get something from Guchen, and you'll leave right away, ignoring my attempts to stop her. Ji Yao hurriedly got up to leave. Her mother arrived, followed by 2 other people. Ji Yao was a bit taken aback. Her mother had a stern face. Realizing what was happening, Ji Yao turned around and glared at me. Guchen, you told my mom. There was no way to convince her. She wouldn't listen to me. So I had to call her mom. When her mom saw the marks on Ji Yu's neck, her expression changed drastically, and she sternly said, "It was your boyfriend who did this, right? Just watch me report him to the police." Ji Yao cried urgently, almost begging her mother, "Mom, please don't call the police. I got hurt accidentally. It has nothing to do with Ah Fang. From today on, you're coming back home to live. I want that house back." Mom, I don't want to go home. But her mother wasn't easy to negotiate with. Her firm attitude led them to take Ji Yao away. After they left, I was boiling with anger and drove to find Zhu Fang. When I found him, he was at a roadside barbecue stall drinking with a group of friends. I grabbed him by the collar and questioned, "What the hell? How dare you lay a hand on her? Are you even a man?" Zhu Fang didn't care that I had him by the collar. He acted nonchalant, which only fueled my anger further. He provocatively said, "Lay a hand. What do you mean? Like this?" He shoved his phone in my face and played a video. I froze, my heart feeling like it had been torn out. In the video, Ji Yao was kneeling on the ground, her long hair being pulled roughly, her head held high, her gaze, and her voice fragmented as her body swayed. Zhu Fang smirked, patted my stunned face, and leaned in to whisper, "A guy like you, just a submissive little lapdog, is utterly boring to her. Did you see that? She loves it when I treat her like this." Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. She's a goddess. She's a lustful dog." Huh. His group of thug friends laughed along. I was furious and swung my fist at him without thinking. Feng dodged slightly, and my fist grazed his nose. Seeing me make a move, his body swarmed in. Outnumbered, I quickly found myself on the ground, curled up and taking hits. Zhu Feng suddenly coughed, and the beating stopped. What's going on? Why are you bleeding from your nose? It turned out to be Ji Yao. Even her mother cowed and keep her under control. Zhu Feng wiped his nosebleed and said sarcastically, "Your little lapdog said he would beat me up for you." Ji Yao hurriedly searched for tissues to stop his bleeding, and only after that did she have time to notice me. I was curled up on the ground, unable to get up, but she didn't offer to help me at all. Instead, she hugged Zhu Feng, looking down at me. "How many times do I have to tell you that I don't need you to meddle in my relationship with Ah Feng? You're not a child anymore. Why do you all have to interfere in my love life?" Feng bit Ji Yu's ear, deliberately putting on this affectionate display in front of me. "Baby, it's the third time he's come to trouble me. I'm really annoyed. I wonder if my nose is broken. It hurts so much." Ji Yao cooed softly to Zhu Feng, saying she would take him to the hospital for a checkup. Then she looked at me, her expression filled with unabashed disgust. What else can you do besides sound discord? What do you think you are to me? Your intrusive concern is disgusting." "Fengs, did you hear that? My girlfriend said you're disgusting. Get lost." He turned with Ji Yao in his arms, but not before turning back to mouth the word shiazba. My anger reached its peak, and I suddenly jumped up and rushed over, grabbing Zhu Feng by the neck. My only thought was that today I was going to beat this girl to death. Ji Yao screamed, trying to pull my arms away but failing. Without hesitation, she picked up a bottle of beer nearby and swung it hard at my head. Just before I passed out, a voice echoed in my mind, "It's over." I woke up in the hospital. My parents and Ji Yu's parents were all there. Ji Yu's mother had red eyes, and when she saw I was awake, she let out a sigh of relief. Thank God. Fortunately, Xiao Chen is fine. Her father looked grim and apologized to my parents' brother and sister-in-law. If anything happened to Gu Chen, I would definitely kill that unfilial daughter. My mother, feeling sorry for me, couldn't help but express some resentment over the years. "Gu Chen has treated your Ji Yao so well. You should have seen that. He's given his all, even more than me and her father. I really don't understand what kind of hatred would lead someone to harm him like this. To be honest, if she were your daughter, I would have definitely called the police to pursue this." My dad coughed lightly, and my mom finally stopped speaking out of indignation. Ji Yu's father was so embarrassed he could barely lift his head. "Brother, sister-in-law, you're right. It's all Ji Yu's fault." After the incident, that girl ran off with that thug, and she won't even answer her mother's call. "Don't worry. Once I find her, I'll bring her back right away so she can kneel down and apologize to Xiao Chen." "Uncle Ji, it's not necessary. I won't have any further dealings with Ji Yao. It doesn't matter if she apologizes or not." Everyone looked at me, momentarily unable to believe what they had just heard. It's not surprising they didn't believe me. Ji Yao and I had grown up together. She was like my son, an indispensable part of my life. I could unconditionally tolerate all her caprices and mistakes. In the eyes of those around us, it was impossible for me to sever ties with Ji Yao. My mother was astonished. "Son, are you serious?" I actually found it hard to believe myself. I had known her for 20 years and loved her for 10. But it felt as if someone had suddenly pressed the delete key, erasing all my feeling. Now, when I thought of Ji Yao, I felt no stirrings in my heart. She was no different from a stranger. The elders exchanged glances, all silent. They probably thought I hadn't fully regained my senses, prompting my mother to call the doctor back for a thorough checkup. On the day I was discharged, Ji Yu's father really brought her along. She was reluctantly standing in front of me, tugged by her father. How could I have given birth to such a heartless and irresponsible daughter? Apologize to Gu Chen and make amends. Ji Yu's eyes and nose were red, clearly having just cried. If it were in the past, this sight would have made my heart ache. But now I felt nothing. I quietly looked at her. In any case, she did owe me an apology. Unexpectedly, she stubbornly retorted, "If I hadn't stopped him, it would have been Ah Feng who got hurt." Her father was almost driven mad with anger, sternly scolding her. What off, Ang? Don't mention that scoundrel to me. Are you going to apologize or not? It'll break your leg. I silently shook my head. Jiao was still so oblivious. Uncle Ji, I said there's no need for that. I then turned to my mother and said, Mom, then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, you never used to watch these kind of emotional videos. I didn't look at Ji Yao again and walked straight out. Her father tried to call me back, but I didn't turn around. I heard Ji Yao murmuring in complaint. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, you never used to watch these kind of emotional videos. I told you it was necessary. Gu Chen wouldn't blame me. He's never blamed me for anything since we were kids. Yes. I had never blamed Ji Yao. No matter how outrageous her actions were. Everyone around me believed that even if one day Ji Yao stabbed me with a knife, I would worry first about whether the blood would stain her hand. Just as my mother and I hadn't walked far, a loud slap echoed behind us. I turned around to see Ji Yao covering her face and crying. Dad, you hit me? I hit you. The worthless daughter. Let me tell you. If you don't quickly break up with that thug, he'll consider you no longer my daughter. But if I'm worthless, then don't recognize me as your daughter. Ji Yao cried as she ran away from me. That day, she moved in with Su Fang. Her parents were extremely angry, hideous, exclaiming that their family was unfortunate, and there was chaos at home. None of this mattered to me anymore. I had put my plans for studying abroad on hold to stay with Ji Yao, but now I had to start planning again. Just when I was fully immersed in preparing the various procedures for studying abroad, one day Ji Yao suddenly called me. She opened with a request to borrow 300,000. Gu Chen, my dad has blocked all my cards. And I'm broke right now. You have to help me. How bold of her. I could certainly lend her 300,000. But why would I? I replied infuriately. Aren't you living with your boyfriend? Let him support you. Ji Yao hadn't picked up on the distance in my tone and earnestly explained. Ah Feng was cheated out of 100,000 at the casino, and I plan to help him pay it back. Then I want to renovate his place. It's really too old. And I'm not comfortable living there. Cheated out of 100,000. Nonsense. Was he just losing at gambling? Only someone as infatuated as Ji Yao would believe Zifeng's nonsense. I rejected her outright. No. I can't lend you any money. Ji Yao was incredibly surprised. Your cards have been blocked too? I found it amusing. After I had said all that, she still couldn't grasp my meaning. It made sense. I had once valued and cared for her so much that she could hardly believe I would ever stop loving her. In her mind, Gu Chen would always be behind her, playing the role of a humble and devoted follower, always at her beck and call, ready to give whatever she wanted. I mean, I'm not anyone to you. I don't want to lend you this money. What greeted me was a long silence. After a while, Ji Yao suddenly sneered. All right, Gu Chen. So you've learned to sulk. Fine. Let's see who's more stubborn. I understood her thoughts all too well. She was sure I would back down first because I had always done so in the past. But this time, she was in for a disappointment. While I was applying for my visa, I bumped into a girl, and the materials we were holding scattered all over the floor. I hurriedly apologized while squatting down to pick them up, and to my surprise, as she was going to the same university as I was. I looked up in delight. You're going to this school too? It was only then that I got a good look at her. I was momentarily stunned. This girl was truly beautiful. Ji Yao was already good looking, but this girl was just as stunning. She saw my materials too and smiled lightly, two small dimples appearing at the corners of her mouth. What a coincidence. Her name was Zhu Huayui, and we were indeed going to the same university, just that she was a year below me. I laughed. So you're a junior? Zhu Hui had a cheerful personality, and we started chatting about our alma mater, quickly getting into a lively conversation. As it was almost mealtime, Zhu Huayui suggested that she treat me to a meal. It's not often to run into a senior. We should definitely grab a meal together. We'll be at the same school soon. Hope you'll look out for me. I replied that it was fine. and I would treat her instead. She chose a Japanese restaurant. We parked the car and had just reached the entrance when I heard a familiar voice behind us. I felt a bit speechless. What a coincidence. Ah, Fang, I haven't Japanese food in a long time. Let's have it for lunch today. Babe, Japanese food is really expensive. It's not worth it. But it's only a few hundred for one person. Just listen. We're not eating that. You let your parents sunblock your cards. And I won't mind if you want to eat 100 meals. I silently rolled my eyes at the stingy guy. Ji Yao and Zhu Fang were just about 10 meters behind me. And when I turned around, they noticed me too. Feng first glanced at me, and then his eyes brightened when he saw Zhu Huayue beside me. Being a man, I could see through his filthy intentions right away. I calmly stood in front of Zhu Huayue, but Ji Yao blurted out, "Zhu Huayue?" The person next to her smiled slightly. "Senior Ji Yao, I was taken aback you to know each other." Zhu Huayue smiled and explained to me, "I used to be in the dance club with Senior Ji Yao. So of course we know each other." The dance club? During college, I would always go to watch Ji Yu's performances. Yet I had no impression of Zhu Huayue at all. But then I realized that whenever Ji Yao was around, all my attention was on her. I naturally wouldn't notice anyone else. Ji Yao pouted and said, "Guang's of videos Guchen. You haven't talked to me for so many days. Are you still mad at me?" I didn't want to say much to her, so my attitude was a bit perfunctory. "Just busy. There's nothing else. I won't talk. We still have to eat." The we naturally referred to me and Zhu Huayue. Ji Yu's expression immediately soured, and her gaze towards Zhu Huayue suddenly turned slightly displeased. "Tell me the truth. Is your sudden change in behavior because of her?" I was speechless. She really hadn't taken the incident that left me with a concussion to heart. Even though I had willingly been Ji Yu's devoted follower, I still had my own dignity. "Ji Yao, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just tired. It has nothing to do with anyone else." Ji Yao became even more agitated upon hearing this. "Tired? Do you know what you're saying? I'm Ji Yao. The Ji Yao who grew up with you. You're annoyed with me now?" I knew her personality. Welsh could be reckless when she threw a tantrum. I signaled Zhu Huayue to hurry inside. Unexpectedly, Ji Yao directly grabbed Zhu Huayue's sleeve. "You can't go. You two need to clarify things for me. Fung, you won't even lend me 30,000 now. And your attitude toward me is like this. What does it all mean? Zhu Huayue, you really have no shame." Zhu Huayue hadn't even done much yet, but I was already feeling embarrassed. I had always viewed Ji Yao through the lens of childhood familiarity, and whatever she did didn't seem excessive. But today, she truly seemed completely unhinged. "Ji Yao, if you're sick, just go home with that useless boyfriend of yours. Don't embarrass yourself out here." Ji Yao was completely stunned by my shout. Her big eyes were filled with disbelief, and tears soon welled up. She found it hard to accept, because this was the first time in all the years we had known each other that I had spoken so harshly to her. She glared at me, full of resentment. "Anger? You're yelling at me for someone else? Good shit. You're actually yelling at me for another woman." Feng finally shifted his lecherous gaze away from Zhu Huayue. "Who the hell are you calling garbage?" "I'm calling you." As I felt the tension rise between Zhu Feng and me, Zhu Huayue suddenly let out a light laugh. Everyone's attention turned toward her. Zhu spoke softly. "If your girlfriend can't even have Japanese food, how can you consider yourself a qualified boyfriend?" I had to admit, her words were quite impactful. That rogue actually turned red in the face. Ji Yao saw her beloved man looking like he wanted to crawl into a hole. She was nearly driven mad with anger. She furrowed her brows and yelled, "You know nothing. Zhu Huayue, are you jealous of me? First, you trying to sow discord between us, and now you're insulting my boyfriend. What's wrong with you?" Her mouth was full of insults, her beautiful features twisted into something ugly due to her rage. I suddenly found it hard to understand what I had ever liked about her. Ji's voice grew louder, showing no regard for the onlookers who had started gathering around. "My boyfriend may be broke now, but so what? That doesn't mean smack." A heavy slap landed on her face, shocking everyone. Ji Yao stumbled backward and fell to the ground awkwardly. Fang pointed at her angrily. Shut up. Who said him broke? Ji Yao covered her face, forgetting even to cry, staring blankly at Zhu Fang. If I remembered correctly, this should be the first time Zhu Fang had hit her while sober. Still hitting her in public. This time, she had no excuses left to defend him. Standing next to you really embarrasses me. Zhu Fang threw down this line and left, completely ignoring Ji Yao, who was still sitting on the ground. Ji Yao gritted her teeth as she watched Zhu Fang walk away, tears streaming down her face. I pulled Zhu Huayue and turned to enter the restaurant. Sorry about that. Regardless of the circumstances, it was because of me that she had been unjustly scolded. Ji Yao and I have indeed known each other since childhood, but we have some unpleasant matters between us, senior. Zhu Huayue interrupted me. Does Ji Yao like you? I nearly choked on my own spit. How could that be? She likes her scumbag boyfriend. She liked him enough to disregard everything, enough to hurt me for him. Zhu Huayue chuckled lightly, but when she saw me with you, regardless of her reasons, it was clear she was jealous. Because of me? I wanted to argue, but she continued, all right, let's not talk about her anymore. Let's eat. Not talking about her was good. Or else I really wouldn't know how to discuss my relationship with Ji Yao. What I didn't expect was that when we came out, Ji Yao was still at the entrance. She hurriedly stood up when she saw me. Huayue noticed and took the initiative to say, Senior, he'll be going now. Honestly, this girl had quite a high emotional intelligence. I apologized to her. It was better to take this opportunity to clarify things with Ji Yao once and for all. After Zhu Huayue left, Ji Yao clung to my arm and shook it. Gu Chen, her eyes were red, and her voice was soft and low. It was just like those countless times in the past when she felt unhappy. Coming to me for comfort, expecting me to always be open-armed for her. It's just a pity that things had changed. The Gu Chen who had loved Ji Yao for 10 years was gone. Ji Yao started to feel uneasy under my indifferent gaze. I know you're just still mad. Mad that I didn't listen to you. Mad that I hit you for Zhu Fang. Please don't be angry anymore. Okay? Then, I'll apologize first. Ji Yao was softening up to me. It was truly the first time for her to do so. I silently shook off her hand. She cried that I was too harsh that day. I just saw you choking Zhu Fang and was so scared that I didn't think about anything else. I really didn't mean to hurt you. Please don't ignore me. Well, you will. Zhu Fang treats me like this. And now you do too. I really feel like the sky's falling. In the past, when Zhu Fang hit her, I was still there to provide warmth and comfort. Now that I wasn't offering that anymore. Did she feel like something was missing? I corrected her in not like your boyfriend. No matter what conflicts you to have. Whether it's a fight for half a day or a day. Or if you play SM games. It's none of my business. However, I absolutely won't be the one who puts my warm face against your cold backside anymore. Upon hearing this, Ji Yao panicked. Gu Chen, don't be like this. This side of you makes me feel so unfamiliar. Don't you remember? You said you would always protect me. I did say that. But you also said that you didn't need someone like me by your side. I annoy you. I sow discord. I disgust you. That was just me being angry. I really can't live without you. Please don't be like this. I shook my head, rejecting her quite firmly. Ji Yu's attitude suddenly became resolute. I've just realized that Zhu Fang and I really aren't suited for each other. Just like you said, he doesn't respect me at all. I will no longer make excuses for his bad behavior, and I won't bother with him anymore. I remained unmoved. But with your path, it's really hard to believe. Seeing that I didn't believe her, Ji Yao called Zhu Fang in front of me. You're nothing but a scumbag. A piece of trash that hits women, who won't even be able to eat her dishes in his lifetime. I'm officially notifying you that we're done. Go dot. After saying that, I'll have my things moved out of his place today. I'm going home to live and won't see Zhu Fang again. Gu Chen, I'll listen to you. From today on, I'll keep my distance from him. Can we still be as good as before? I looked at Ji Yao, feeling puzzled. There were times when Zhu Feng hit her, and it was even more severe than that. Yeah, I had tried my best to reason with her, but she had never been willing to say a bad word about Zhu Feng, let alone break up with him. Now that I was no longer involved, she had done a complete 180. Strangely, I recalled what Zhu Huayue had just said. Does she like you? Shastela. I pursed my lips. Impossible. After 10 years of being a sycophant and not gaining her affection, how could she suddenly like me now that I was? At most, it was just Ji possessiveness acting up. After all, at my level as a protector of flowers, she had long considered me someone who would always cherish and spoil her. I said lightly, if you really broke up, then I congratulate you on getting away from a scumbag. But as for us, let's just be ordinary friends from now on. Ji Ya was taken aback and couldn't say another word. After saying that, I left. This time, Ji Ya was really determined. She went home and obediently apologized to her parents, and deleted all her photos with Zhu Feng from her social media and posted a declaration of being single at the end of the declaration. But the affection that has grown from childhood is definitely the truest. I will reclaim what belongs to me, because it has always belonged to me. This drama seemed a bit much. Ji Yao was sentimental, frequently sending me long messages reminiscing about our past during both day and night. I was so annoyed that I directly blocked her. On my birthday, Zhu Huayue called me. Happy birthday. I was a bit surprised. How did you know? I saw it when I was getting my visa that day. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, you never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. Thank. Do you have any plans today? I honestly said I didn't. Perfect. I was supposed to treat you to dinner last time, but you ended up paying in. So let me treat you this time. Birthday star? I wanted to say it was necessary, but Zhu Huayue was very insistent. She kept saying that a girl's invitation shouldn't be refused, and that I would need to look out for her more when she studied abroad in the future. I had no choice but to agree. I probably had never had a casual chat with any girl other than Ji Yao. Zhu Huayue felt like an old friend, and chatting with her was never awkward. We talked about philosophy, music, and our tragic childhood experiences of being chased by dogs. No matter what we discussed, she seemed to understand me particularly well. Many times, I couldn't help but laugh heartily. Since Ji Yao got together with Zhu Feng a year ago, I hadn't really felt happy. Unconsciously, for 5 hours had passed. When I was dropping her off at home in the evening, I sincerely thanked her. She mysteriously took out a beautifully wrapped gift, about the size of a palm. Senior, this really took it for you, but don't open it yet. Wait until you get home. I smiled and agreed. When I got home, Ji Yao was snuggled on the sofa, wearing my shirt and watching TV, which startled me. You're back? I've been waiting for you for so long. Comfortable and familiar, leaving me speechless. Ji Yao always knew my door lock code. She could come over whenever she wanted. After she was first hit by Zhu Feng, she came to cry at my place for half the night. I remember I was so furious that I wanted to kill that scumbag and went to find Zhu Feng that night for a good beating. The next morning, while I was still at the hospital getting bandaged, she was called back by Zhu Feng with a phone call. She didn't even say a word to me. That was the first time I felt like a fool for trying so hard for her. Ji Yao bounced over to the dining table, excitedly exclaiming, ding ding ding, ding birthday cake. Happy 25th birthday to my knight. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, you never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. May we have this day year after year. Night was her term for me. She had said she was a princess, and I would always be the knight protecting her. Ji Yao seemed either not to see or pretended not to see my helpless and displeased expression as she called me over loudly. I've been waiting for you with an empty stomach. Hurry up. I put down the gift Zhu Huayue had given me and stood still in the shadow of the entrance. Ji Yao, things between us can't be like before. Your knight is leaving. Ji Yao seemed not to hear and lit the candles with a lighter. The candles are lit. Hurry up and blow them out to make a wish. She had her back to me, so I couldn't see her expression. I said again, "You really don't need to do that." The moment before. Ji Yao suddenly became furious and threw the lighter heavily on the ground. She turned around, and I didn't realize when her face had already been streaked with tears. She vented her feeling, shouting everything she had kept bottled up inside. "Gu Chen, I was in a failed relationship. And I didn't listen to you in time. But I'm not doing well either. On one side is my boyfriend, and on the other side is my childhood sweetheart. What you want me to do? You're still holding a grudge about me hitting you. Then just hit me once. You can hit me as a way to pay me back. I don't understand. You weren't like this before. You could never bear to be cold to me, ignore me, speak harshly to me, or treat me like a stranger." What? She screamed, and then broke down into tears. I sighed. "I'm sorry, but we really can't go back." Ji Yao stopped crying, her eyes filled with malice. "You were at home all afternoon. You were out with Zhu Hua Yui. What's it about her that you'd like her? Be honest. Did you deliberately find her to provoke me? I don't believe you would like her. Besides her good look, what makes her better than me?" I began to get a headache. I simply didn't have the energy to deal with her anymore. I asked her to leave. "This is my personal matter. There's no need to report to you. I need to rest now. You should go." Ji Yao nodded repeatedly and then started rambling again. "I understand. You're retaliating against me. I found Zhu Feng, and you were never happy about it. Now you're using Zhu Hua Yui to get back at me the same way." I was speechless again. Is she watching too many TV dramas? "Gu Chen, let me tell you. Today is the last time I'm giving you a chance. If you act in cold like this, we should never speak to each other again in this lifetime. You'd better not regret it then." Well, it turns out it has always been her giving me chances. I smiled and said, "I don't need this chance anymore. Thank you." Ji Yao was so angry that she was left speechlessly stormed out. When she got to the door, "Then, what are you trying to show off? You always look down on Zhu Feng. But at least he's sincere when he apologizes to me. He calls me every day to apologize and sends me gifts to cheer me up. But what about you? You were the one who always said you'd cherish and spoil me. Do you think I won't end up with Zhu Feng? Let's wait and I'm going to get back together with him. I want to prove to everyone that my choice is not wrong. You think he's useless? One day, I'll make my boyfriend slap you hard in the face." After this confrontation with Ji Yao, I completely forgot to open the gifts Zhu Hua Yui had given me, which I had left on the shelf by the entrance. But she really did follow through. She got back together with Zhu Feng, then had a huge fight with her parents and moved out, which caused her mom's heart condition to flare up again. I didn't understand, but I was greatly shocked. Let her be. As the days drew closer to my departure abroad, I began to keep in touch with Zhu Hua Yui more. We talked on the phone, discussing my move abroad, and somehow ended up talking about college. When I first started college, there was a time when I almost fell into depression. No way. A beautiful girl like you should be confident and cheerful. You walk with swagger, looking down on others. Aren't you proud? I'm the prettiest. She burst out laughing, suddenly changing the topic. "You haven't opened my gift yet, right?" Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." Damn, I forgot. But how did she know? She fell silent and cheerfully said goodnight to me, just as I was about to open the gift. My mom called me again. Since my family and Ji-Yu's family lived in the same villa community, news traveled fast, whether I wanted to know or not. More worry. This was super explosive news. Ji Yao was pregnant. Ji Yao returned home with her scumbag boyfriend. Brazenly, from what my mom said. They wanted to use the baby to force her parents to compromise her, accept Zhu Feng or restore Ji Yu's credit card. Ji Yu's parents had already lost face because their daughter eloped with the delinquent. Now. Who would have thought that they would come over and threaten them with a child? Ji Yu's dad was not someone who could be easily intimidated by these two. He immediately said he would beat Zhu Feng to death. Ji Yao stood in front of Zhu Fang protectively. She was still yelling. No matter how much you dislike him, he is still the father of my child. If you want to hit us, just kill all three of us. In the end, her dad couldn't bring himself to do it, and he roared at the two of them to get lost. Before Ji Yao left, she wanted the household registration book, saying she needed it to get the marriage certificate, insisting that the child should have name after birth. In the end, her Danny used a broom to directly shove them out. My mom sighed on the other end of the phone. Ji Yao, that girl, looked so obedient and sensible when she was little. How did she turn into this as she grew up? What kind of poison has that delinquent boyfriend fed her? Now she's pregnant out of wedlock. Your uncle and aunt's reputation has really been ruined. I fell silent. Perhaps in Ji Yu's mind, Zhu Fang was like the rebellious male lead in a drama, and the two of them had to break through societal obstacles and face all difficulties to ultimately live a happy life. I could accept that she didn't love me and chose to love someone else, but she was sacrificing her future, severing ties with her parents for his comeback during her most beautiful years, spending her days racing cars, drinking, bragging, and acting as a housekeeper for a man in a small apartment. And now she was pregnant. My mom's phone call had distracted me, and I forgot about Zhu Hui's gift again. With only a few days left before I left for abroad, my mom came over to help me pack, and she kept nagging me like a monk reciting scriptures. Hey, because of that Ji Yao girl, you've grown up so much without even dating anyone. Now you're of age and going abroad for school. When will you bring me a daughter-in-law? I hugged my phone, scrolling through videos and ignoring her. The next only took this moment, Zhu Hui's video call came in. I rushed into my bedroom, making sure to close the door properly. Senior, I need to handle something in the northern suburbs, but my car is restricted today. Can you be my driver for the day? I'd become much more casual now, and I smiled slightly. I'd be happy to. I'm at the hospital. I just visited a friend. Just come pick me up here. Just as I hung up the phone, I turned around to find my mom grinning at me. You little rascal, who are you video chatting with? I helplessly replied. An alumnus. When did you come in? Why didn't you knock? Chef, eavesdropping is not a respectable behavior. I just came in a little while ago, and I knocked. Didn't you hear me? Anyway, let's talk seriously. When did you meet this girl? What does she do? How old is she? I had no choice but to give her a straightforward answer. My mom nodded repeatedly as she left. Before I left, she gave me a command. This girl seems good. You have to cherish her. I replied, then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, you never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. Okay, I won't pretend anymore. I actually thought the same thing. When I arrived at the hospital and was waiting for Zhu Hui in the lobby, I suddenly heard a commotion behind me. Several medical staff were pushing an emergency stretcher forward, and the crowd hurriedly made way. The medical staff were shouting, patient is 4 months pregnant, experiencing severe vaginal bleeding. We must arrange for surgery immediately. At that moment, I saw clearly that it was Ji Yao lying on the stretcher. Ji Yu's face was pale, her eyes tightly closed in pain. I was shocked. How could she be experiencing such severe bleeding? Where was Zhu Fang? Before I could react, she was already rushed into the operating room for emergency treatment. Senior, what are you looking at? Turning around, Zhu Hui had arrived. When she heard about Ji Yu's situation, her expression became serious. You should hurry and inform her parent. I nodded. In times like this, it was critical to have family present. Poor Ji's parents hadn't even recovered from the last time she was pregnant before they were hit hard again. The two of them stood outside the operating room with red eyes, looking at least 10 years older. During the surgery, the doctor brought out a critical condition notice for the family to sign. Ji Yu's dad managed to suppress his emotions and signed it, while her mom broke down in tears. That damn Zhu Fang has ruined my daughter. I supported her to prevent her from collapsing. She held on to me tightly. Guo Qian, why isn't Yao Yao with you? A kid like you would never let her suffer like this. You wouldn't let her end up in this situation. I was at a loss for words. Because Ji Yao had lost too much blood. We weren't sure when the surgery would end. I told Zhu Huayue to go back first. Thoughtful as always. She bought us water and food before leaving. I don't know how many hours passed. But when the doctor finally came out and announced that Ji Yi was out of danger, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. However, the child in her womb was lost. Ji Yi's parents didn't feel any regret. In fact, they were glad there was no child. After Ji Yao woke up, perhaps due to her little bit of pitiful pride, she initially refused to speak at all. Her mom cried and forced her to explain what happened. Sure enough, it was that scumbag Zhu Feng again. When Ji Yao had money to spend on him, he pretended to be decent, but now that she was broke, his true colors showed completely. He spent his days either drinking or gambling, even hanging out with different women every day. Ji Yao, while pregnant, had to buy groceries, cook, and do housework. Yet Zhu Feng didn't even give her any money. Then morning, they had a fight, and Zhu Feng got violent, completely disregarding that she was still pregnant. After she started bleeding, he actually just walked away, leaving Ji Yao in pain to call an ambulance herself. As she finished speaking, she finally couldn't help but cry out loud. Gu Chen, I was wrong. I shouldn't have ignored you back then. Zhu Feng is a complete liar and scumbag. Her mom cried as she listened. And by the end, she was a mess of tears. Yao Yao, your dad and I are getting old, and we really can't take the scare anymore. Okay, don't oppose us anymore. Her dad gritted his teeth in anger. I will never forgive that bastard. But Ji Yao only looked at me. I finally understand now. Being with Zhu Feng was a mistake from the start. I thought I was different. I thought I could change him. But a scumbag like him doesn't deserve anyone's love. You were right about everything. While I was unconscious, I had a dream. I dreamed we're playing house as kids. I was the bride, and you were the groom. You said you would always protect me, make me happy, and let me enjoy life. Do you remember? I remembered. How could I forget? But what was the point of saying these things now? I sighed. You should rest well and not think about these things. Ji Yao became agitated when she saw me getting up to leave, and her parents hurriedly pressed her back down. Gu Chen, Dange, I'm afraid that if you leave, you'll never come back. I really realize my mistake. I beg you, can we go back to how we used to be? I will never let others insult or hit you again. I'm begging you. Don't leave. Ji Yao cried so loudly that it attracted the attention of the nurse. The patient has just undergone surgery. Family members should be cautious and not let her get too agitated. I had no choice but to say, let's not talk about this for now. We'll discuss it when you get discharged. Don't go. From now on, they'll protect you, and they'll take care of you. I'm begging you, don't leave me behind. Ji Yao even tried to get out of bed to chase after me. I quickly slipped out. Once outside, I was surprised to find Zhu Huayue standing at the door. Huayue, when did you get here? Not long ago. How is the senior? I shook my head. You must have heard. She fell silent, as if gathering her courage for a long time. Senior, it's only a couple of days until you go abroad. Are you still going? I could hear the hesitation and worry in her tone, and I couldn't help but laugh. Silly, why would you ask that? Of course, I'm going. Upon hearing this, Xu Hui was 10 shoulders relaxed, and then she feigned anger. Senior, why are you calling me silly? I think you're the one being silly. You haven't even looked at the birthday gift I gave you. Tim naturally took the phone away. Smiling as he said, you never used to watch these kind of emotional videos. If she hadn't brought it up, I might have forgotten again. I pulled something out of my pocket, a small crystal ball. Zhu Hui's eyes lit up, so you opened it. Yeah, I was wondering why I couldn't find my crystal ball anywhere. Turns out it was with you. Well, that's your own fault for forgetting. It has nothing to do with me. I remembered. This gift was something I had once given to Zhu Huayue myself, and now she was returning it to me. Old Gu Chen giving it to 19-year-old Zhu Huayue. I was particularly down during that time. I felt like I was developing depression and would cry for hours in the back of the library every day. Just so happened I liked to memorize vocabulary back there too. You bothered me for several days straight. I was so irritated. I just called it and understand why a perfectly good college student had something to cry about every day. MPA? Senior. So you were planning to settle the score with me. How could that be called settling the score? Didn't I keep trying to comfort you later? Even said you cried so ugly that I shouldn't look at you, which is why I had no impression of you. Your comforting skills are hardly commendable. But there's one thing I've always remembered. Which one? You said, find your son. And perhaps there won't be any gloom in life. Even threw this thing at me and said it was a gift. The condition was that I couldn't bother you while you were studying vocabulary. I couldn't help but laugh. What a magical fate. Bringing me and Zhu Huayue together 5 years ago. I thought I would forever suffer in love. But it turned out, fate had not treated me poorly. My mom said that Ji Yao was fine now and just needed to rest. Meanwhile, that scumbag Zhu Fang had come back to make a scene. He actually had the nerve to threaten Ji Yao with a video of her. Say in give him 500 yuan. He would spread the video online. Ji's dad was about to deal with him when he walked right into trouble, reporting him, suing him, demanding compensation, and sending him to prison. A full package was waiting for him. The scumbag even shouted he wanted to see Ji Yao before going in. Of course, all this happened after I went abroad. On the day Zhu Huayue and I were leaving, Ji Yao actually chased us to the airport. Her aunt was distraught. This stubborn girl said if she couldn't come, she'd jump off the building. She and her dad are driving us crazy. Ji Yao hadn't fully recovered yet. Her face was pale, and her small frame was wrapped in a slightly oversized coat. I want to talk to Gooch and alone. My mom had no choice but to signal me to keep an eye on Ji Yao and not provoke her. Zhu Huayue kindly nodded. Are you really leaving? Yeah, if I say I can go study abroad with you, and I can accompany you through everything in the future. Can we? No. Ji Yao instantly broke down, tears streaming down her face. Ji, what's past is past. We should look forward. Ji Yao just shook her head, covering her mouth. I knew she genuinely regretted it. She truly wanted to be with me. But now, I had to hold another girl's hand and welcome a new life. The love that once was real. And so was the fact that we no longer loved each other. She deserved her own new life too. In the final moments before security, Ji Yao still held on to my arm, refusing to let me go. Zhu Huayue suggested she try talking to her. It was amazing. After only a few minutes, Ji Yao stopped crying and just stared blankly at me. On the plane, I asked Zhu Huayue what she had said to Ji Yao. She smiled. It's a